Hello! Hello, welcome to the Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Street Day 121. I'm joined today by John, or as I've called him today, the best John. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm all right. I can't really complain. I've spent most of my morning painting Indomitus figures because I'm a sellout.
What's wrong with that? I'm currently also painting up some 40k, I'd like you to know. As you can see here, this is already in my collection because I'm a narrative player. Catafron Destroyer. Chickle Buddy, thanks for subscribing for 32 months in a row. Whoop, whoop. That means, if 32 months, that means only 4 months till our birthday. Oh, is that right? Or is that not right?
October, I think's the birthday.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. But hello to everyone in the Twitch chat. Tuffy here, Sir Callum, Ben Clapperton, W. Surren, a good morning from Texas. And then Serenity, Orepa, MJ Pegasus, Born Again, Manchild, Halifax, hello from Canada. All right. I'm not sure I like 9th edition. I almost punishes my guard army for having infantry squads. I also have orcs. I'm not happy about the change there either, lol. Okay, all right. Well, so today, we'll talk about all sorts of different things today. Hage from Sweden. Hello, Rure. Today we're going to be talking about all sorts. I was just like, big up to the Patreon guys, by the way. Podcast guys, stay hydrated. Drink that water, wherever it may be from a tap, or from a bottle, or from the sky, or from your hands, or from...
Oh, wow, you got a clear bottle. It
or
literally wasn't there.
Yeah, or from the bathwater of a ethot. Any of those places, acceptable hydration points available. Patreon guys, obviously great. Twitch guys, obviously great. YouTubers, also great. So some clarity on yesterday. I started work at 9 o'clock and I didn't finish talking to those bumholes on Warhammer Weekly until like 1:30 last night. So I'm tired. And John's come and we're going to waffle. So if you listen to the podcast, maybe skip this one. Maybe just skip the fuck out of this one. Yeah.
It might be the best one yet, Rob. You don't know. You don't know. I might have some really deep thoughts on.
Oh yeah,
something.
no, from my side. No, you're right. From my side, skip it. But John's here, and John's awesome. Awesome AF. Skywater is the best water. I couldn't agree with you more. Skywater is great water. I'm going to take the unusual approach of playing Ninth for a bit before forming an opinion, says Serenity. Well, I could talk about that in a minute. But before any of that, because that's what I will talk about on the show today, I played 2 games of 9th edition yesterday. 2 games, John.
Yeah.
And I freaking loved it.
It's great, isn't it?
It's so much better. But before we do that, how have you been?
I have been okay. I've been painting lots of green Space Marines, black Space Marines, and white Space Marines. So I'm pretty all right.
So, what? One more time. Oh no!
What?
Oh no!
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry. No, it was not that you didn't go. I just didn't register what you said because I was too tired. And then what? And while not registering what you said,
coloured Space Marines.
Okay. So why have you been painting those ones specifically?
So for my Dark Angels Successor chapter, I've done it so that things like the Assault Intercessors are going to be Raven Wing guys. So I'm painting them all in black armour. I've done the Blade Guard Veterans, obviously it's Deathwing, so it's just kind of like gives me different painting projects within the same army, which is quite fun, I think. Because there's nothing worse than seeing an army of Space Marines and they're all just 3 colour minimum, all look almost identical colour-wise, and you just look at it and go, yes, that's a uniformed army, but my god, it's boring looking. And I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah, I actually, for a long time, have thought that you could mix up squads. If you guys have been listening to me forever, when I had my old Death Guard army, I was talking about painting up different Plague Marine squads in different colours, like an orange and a yellow, and just kind of have them as like tying a consistent theme. And I just think it's really fun. I think it's really, really fun doing that. And like I've started to add in, so my AdMech have always been Riser, so orange.
Yeah.
But then I started to just randomly add in some yellow in places. And then my Imperium army kind of became like, my Astra Military army was yellow. But then, so they were kind of like 2 separate forces. But then, as I started painting stuff like, oh no, I've just dropped that guy. As I started painting stuff like the the
Just watched you drop it.
whatever.
Brilliant.
Yeah, as I started painting up the knights, or like the little knights, the armigers and stuff, I started to
Yeah.
mix the color palettes. I was like a bit orange, bit yellow, and I was just like, trying to make the forces kind of seem cohesive. And then if I was going to
Yeah.
throw in a Space Marine Legion, I don't know. I decided to do mine silver anyway, so that they're a bit neutral. But once you stick to yellow,
Yeah,
it's
yellow's not a fun colour.
it's oppressive, right? It's like a lot of stuff.
You say this to the guy that's painted white Space Marine armor, and it's challenging, but it's got its own reward, right? You look at it and go, cool, I made that. It doesn't look dreadful. It
Yeah.
looks all right.
Yeah, it's nice. So you've been painting, which has been fun. And have you enjoyed the painting? Has it been good?
I am. I'm feeling the pressure now because I've only got about a week left to get it done. And I said to myself I was going to get them done for release so that on that Saturday I can just play with all the new toys, but fully painted, which is cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Why is it that have you painted the Necrons as well?
I haven't. My one of my team was basically we split the box. He's doing the Necrons, and he's basically finished them because they're quite straightforward to paint. I imagine
Oh, okay.
there is
Okay.
some detailing to them and everything, but I think it's a little bit more forgiving because even the characters, the detail isn't quite as obtuse as some of the Space Marine stuff, where it's literally just like purity seal on purity seal and the bones bit of the shield and stuff. It's a lot of detail, but it's rewarding. I think the Necrons do seem to be a joy to paint, though. He seems to be enjoying it, and this is a guy that hasn't really painted much in the last year, so me forcing him to paint a work has been quite a thing for him, I think.
Well, I hope that there's some sort of way to learn how to paint, like some of these models, especially in more detail, because I've seen some contrast paints done
Yeah,
online, and I mean, my painting is really substandard. So, do you know what? I'm not even going to be mean about it. That
yeah,
they look like they're painted. That's fine, but they don't. I wouldn't
yeah.
say that they're shooting for the stars sort of situation.
No.
But I'm hoping that guys like the Cult of Paint and whatnot. I hope they do some painting tutorials for the Marines and um, for the Necrons, because that would be sweet to see. That'd be sweet to see. It really will. Although I'm not overly interested. I kind of like, do you know what I quite like about the launch boxes, John, is the ability to just
Yeah.
pivot and just be like, okay, everyone's really obsessed with Necrons and Marines. That's cool. I kind of get to go off with a bunch of other guys and be excited in my
Yes.
own little corner about something else. So I played yesterday with my Orcs, which I loved. But one of the games I played was against some Admech. And I was like, do you know what? Admech are just really cool. And I have, as you know, a large Admech
Did
collection.
he beat you with your AdMech?
Oh, no.
With the AdMech?
No, no. No, no, no. No, no. Smasher guns for life. Yeah.
Oh, smash guns.
Smasher guns for life. Uh, but I was just like, they are cool. They're a cool force. And actually, like, the problem with the Admech range a little bit, because I've got a lot of the Horus Heresy Admech stuff, the Horus Heresy Admech stuff is my, like, I spent 2 weeks painting one plane. Like, 2 weeks, like edge highlighting a plane. Like, I would like you to know I've edge highlighted like 8 models in my life, and that plane is one of them. Yeah, so I loved it, and they're great models, and they love them. But like, do you know what? And they're really complicated to do, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just gonna fucking just get on with them, and just get them on the board, because I've had them for years and I love them. I'm just gonna get them on the board, just get them done.
As
Because
well.
they're just so cool, aren't they? Like what, robot spacemen? It's just like, they're awesome.
They're one of those few armies that I appreciate the look of, but I have no interest in buying them as an army, which is I'm all right with. But they are cool to play against. They are a tough army to go up against. So I'm hoping that they stay at that level of toughness
Oh,
because I found them a good challenge.
you hold on to the chat, John. Someone's asked me to show
Yeah.
the plane. I'm going to go grab the plane. You carry on.
Oh, yeah. So to me, it's like there's nothing wrong with like AdMech. A couple of my locals have got them. I'm like, cool. This is an army I love the look of. They're fun to draw, all that sort of stuff. But I'm just like, cool. You do that. I'll focus on my stuff, and that's cool, right? I'm having the same with the Necrons at the moment. They're really nice models, but I'm going to pass. I don't need to own every army. If you own every army, you've got a problem. Oh, there's a plane. I don't know if that's got 40k rules yet, because a lot of the AdMech stuff, the Mechanicum stuff, doesn't, does it?
Sorry, John. What did you say?
So does that have rules yet for 8th edition / 9th edition?
Lightning Jet Fighter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't think so.
Because a lot of the Mechanicum stuff didn't get rules
Well,
in the
it's
kind of
actually
transition, did they?
it's actually an Astra Militarum plane, but the AdMech can kind of take it because there was some weird Force Org stuff. Little side note about this plane, actually, which
Yeah.
I was really happy about, is I left it on the side in the office one time, and as you guys know, my office is in a bar, and the bar manager came in very quickly looking for a cable, knocked the plane down, and it kind of broke in half because it's Forge World, and bits chipped off, and paint came off all over it. And then the next day he like messaged me, I went, I've dropped your plane. Do you reckon you could glue it back together, or is it broken? And I was like, it's not that it's broken, it's that it's one of the only models I've ever painted, to be honest. But you know, like when everyone who doesn't play Warhammer thinks everything you own is just basically a toy.
Yeah.
And you could just buy another one, and you're like, that's not how this works.
It must be a tenner's worth of plane, right? Does it shoot little missiles out of it? Yeah.
I was like, no. Anyway. So you played some Ninth Edition,
I've played a couple of games now.
And anyone else in the Twitch chat, this is your time to speak up. How have you found it?
I found it quite different, but I really appreciate that the secondaries and the primaries are quite different in how you approach them. So I kept not appreciating how much a difference the primaries themselves actually make.
Told you.
So
I've been talking about it, haven't I?
Yeah, and it was just like, I was like, yeah, I'm sure I'll have a good grasp on that. I'll be fine. And it was just like I kept my eyes on far too much on dealing with my opponent holding the secondaries. So my game on Sunday was against Drakari. He managed to get onto 3 objectives out of the 4 because we were playing 4 pillars immediately. And I didn't do enough to get him off them. So he was constantly holding more and holding 2. So he was getting 15 a turn easily. And I was too busy trying to get rid of the stuff that was siphoning because he was doing the siphoning action.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very successful. So funnily enough, that cost me that game. And it was interesting because it was like, it wasn't just one thing that I was doing wrong. It was the 2 things combined then meant that my decision then was kind of snowballing. And it was interesting. But I learned from it. That's the important thing, right?
Yeah. I think the game is fantastic. Like, that's only based on 2 games so far. And as always, the points could be way tighter. Way tighter. Like, I played against 6 Dakar bots yesterday, which is the AdMech Castellan robots with phosphor blasters. And they can fire twice, and they can have their range extended by 6 inches. So they basically have a 42-inch range, and they can deploy 10 inches on. But like, it was just the whole board. It was just like, I will cover the whole board and just like burn through shit. And I was like, wow. Like, there's no. Although the obscuring terrain was fantastic. You know, it was no like ifs and buts. It was just like, I can hide here. That's excellent.
Yeah. And it's the clarity, and it's none of this. Oh, do I quite see through that? It's like, no, you either see through it or you don't. There's no in between.
Yeah.
And I like that. The terrain rules felt a lot sharper.
I'd love to come back to W. Soren's point in the chat because I think it's a fair one. But the game took forever to get started, only because it's just like, okay, so we're 24 inches apart. That means our deployment zones are actually 10 inches now, not 12. Yeah. Like, it was really, did you find this? Like, objectives are 18 from the center on each side, which means what's the board size now? What's half the board size? You know, those things you instinctively know. And then,
so rather than just going, right, I'm 24 in or 12 in, you just like suddenly you were like having to do.
Yeah, I'm 14 in. What the fuck? Yeah. 14 inches from the edge. You're like, okay.
And
Haley probably, by the way.
Mat, you're 2.5 inches in on each side on the short edges. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Just remembering that was difficult, but I think that will come with time. It's like anything. I think the hardest thing for me was you need to come with a pad of paper, write down all the secondaries, and each turn methodically go through it and keep a better track of it. I find.
Did you also find? So W. Soren made a really good point in the chat, because I was like looking at a piece of paper last night. I was like, how do I even write down all these like fucking secondaries? And I was like, I can, but it's like a sheet of paper. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. We need a scoring sheet.
Religiously. So.
Yeah, Nikos, we do need a scoring sheet. We need a scoring sheet, a printable scoring sheet. Has anyone seen a printable scoring sheet out there in the world?
I'm developing something one step better, and Nikos has just touched on it. I'm making a spreadsheet. So I'm going to do a Google Doc so that if you say you've scored more, it just calculates you scored 5. Job done.
Just, yeah, I know.
You can do that on a tablet.
Who even has a printer, though? Is the
Exactly.
real
Why
question.
print it? Why print
But
it when you can just use your tablet?
yeah, but aren't you? Yeah, but I'm using like my tablet for my like list, my tablet for my the missions for the rules. Like I'm like 8 tablets deep at this point, John. What am I, Johnny Mnemonic? This doesn't have a lot of
More like Johnny
tablets.
Moronic. Ha ha! There we go.
Yeah,
That's what I'm here for.
11 out of 10. Really like
Yeah.
that. That was
That's
great
a great
news.
film, though.
Yeah.
It's got Henry Rollins in it. Makes it instantly one of the best films ever.
It does. Big fan of Black Flag. Not a fan of everyone who likes Black Flag. That's my general
Oh, God.
consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
It'll be on the app, lols. The app will save us.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah, Battlescribe's going to be so good this edition.
Yeah, from someone on Reddit. Oh, wait. Thank you, Furzy. It's okay, John. It's been done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a score sheet like that. Yeah. It's like there's some cheat sheets that have been floating around that people have shared around, and that made the game so much quicker for me. So there's one that lists all the types of terrain, the keywords that are associated with them, and then a little column saying what they all are. And I was like, cool, straightforward.
This is actually the only reason I do the show anymore, is so people can just crowd source me like better stuff than Games Workshop could do. Like,
Right, what I'll do, Rob, is I'll print a copy of that out, laminate it, so you can reuse it, and then I'll post it to you.
oh my
How's
god!
That for futuristic?
Well, I just wipe it on and off. Did everyone get the link?
Yeah.
By the way, you should keep that. That's great. Maybe the app scoring will work. Yeah, shout out to Furzy. Furzy, I'm not sure if you're into furry stuff, but Furzy, big love to you. I think you could just go with a checklist, then each turn check if you completed it, then add up. So yeah, do you know what? We'll talk about the problem, if you will, at the minute, because there are some issues, not issues, but like a bit of a ball ache.
Challenges.
Yeah, but I want everyone knowing this going in that I fucking loved it. I loved it. So I want them I want that. Also, I'm really tired, so I'm going to be a bit weird today. So I'm sorry. I got turned on at Lamina. Internet dropped and I missed it. Yeah, Furzy, just relink it. Relink that shit. Hold on, I'll do it in the chat.
So to me, the changes in 9th edition, despite the core structure of the game being very similar to 8th, it's changed enough between 7th and 8th change to me.
Yeah, it has. I just want to say a big shout out to Dreadwoods for giving Furzy a subscription to the show. Welcome to the Grot Gang. Welcome to the Grot Gang.
Fuck you, buddy.
Yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
So to me, at first, it looks like the rules haven't changed that much when you think about it. The fact that it's like a core change isn't the whole thing. It's not like 7th where everything changed, but it feels just as as much of a change to me when I've played it because of the terrain, the missions, and some of the things like the command phase change it up enough that I think it is quite a step change.
All right, well, we're moving on there. Before we do that, let's talk about scorekeeping, and let's talk about that because it is a bit of a monster. Specifically because, so I'll tell you, I know we're going to talk about this on tonight's 40k show as well with Nick and Tom.
Yes.
But one of the things, Halifax, thanks for subscribing, babe. Welcome to the Grot Gang. Welcome to the Grot Gang. Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna do a song next time. Every time. Your subs make me happy. Please continue. What were we saying? Yeah. So scorekeeping is a bit of an issue because you're like, right, it's the command phase. I score now. But then we were doing the secondary objective, planting the flags.
Yes.
Right.
Banner.
Oh, yeah, raise the banners. Can I also make a suggestion to everyone? If you're playing someone who's new or you're just trying to learn it to get into it, all of you just pick the same secondaries.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Then you're both just doing the same secondaries at the same times, which I found really, really helpful. Any news on when the app's out? Yeah, actually, we have heard some news. Now, this is a rumor and therefore might not be accurate, but I've actually heard that the app is coming out when the Pizzagate stuff comes out. I think it's the same time. Same time. So Flat Earth confirmed, app out, same time.
Christ.
Like
you had me for a second.
that's what I heard. That's just what I heard. I don't know if it's true. I've heard they're actually selling the app inside. I don't know if you've seen this, John. They're selling the app inside chests of drawers, but but the chest of drawers is called the 40k app. Is anyway. Never mind. I don't know when the app's coming out. Never.
What's that? That's a tumbleweed floating by. Oh dear.
Did someone accidentally put a bullet through the app hard drive? Yeah, the app accidentally killed itself while in police custody. Is what happened.
Sentient. It became sentient.
Right. Anyway, so scoring. So my suggestion is do scoring, or like maybe do the same secondaries as each other, because there's enough to keep track really with the primary, I think. And one of the really interesting things that came up yesterday when I was playing against Tom in the first game was so I was like, the score more is going to be really hard, but it's not hard at all, because if they're holding one and you hold two, and there's like, because we were playing frontline assault, so it's just four objectives. So I held two at one point, and he was only holding one. So I got the 10 victory points, so 1 victory point for holding one, 2 victory points for holding two, but also the additional 5 victory points because I was holding more. I would have thought that I had to go and hold like 3. Do you know what I mean? Like 3 or something. I would have thought
more.
I was just holding more.
It becomes slightly, yeah.
So yeah, but it was like you have to stop yourself in the game. It's like, okay, your turn. And it's like, now I score. It feels like I've never scored at the top of the turn, so it felt weird. Did you get that? Like it felt like a weird flow.
Because you've got to survive as well. It's just like my instant gut feeling was, those 5 dudes holding that objective, they're going to be gone by my next turn. But no, because normally your opponent's then trying to do their version of what they need to achieve, so it changes it completely. Can you die quietly, please? I was trying to say something important, Rob.
Yeah, please continue. Please continue.
I've finished.
Right, so we'll get a 3-week pre-order for the quarter of the app with the 3 biggest app reveal ever Saturday, with the other 3 quarters to be released once every year for 3 years. It's going to be perfect. The app died when someone tried to make a list. Dave Fraser, oops, missed the first half of this, was too busy watching Warhammer Weekly. Hiya.
So, to me, the hardest thing about keeping track of the scoring for the secondaries is if the secondaries have got different tiers. So the one for killing stuff, I can't remember what it's called, has based on whether it's 10 wounds or less and 11 wounds or more, scores you 2 or 3.
Oh, the one for killing vehicles.
Yeah, that one, for example, you can't just go, I've scored that this turn. It's like you need to quantify it, so it does require a little bit more paperwork. It
does, and truthfully, that is a negative. That is a negative. There's a lot of like scorekeeping going on, which does kind of slow down the game. But if anything, what I'm hoping it'll do, which is a lot more difficult for casual gamers, people who just kind of want to turn up and have a bit of a laugh. Yeah.
It'll take you a while to kind of warm up into it, I think.
I think so, but the flip side is for the people who get off book and get their game in and know what they're doing, I think it's going to be a real boon. They're going to be like, I know what I'm doing, I know when I score, I know what I'm picking, and they're going to fire on all cylinders. And they're going to be able to concentrate on their game. So it feels like more than the last edition. It feels like a game that you have to practice even more to be good. And I think that's a positive, because I think you end up with not better gamers, although maybe that's what I'm trying to say, but you kind of end up with like a clear distinction between the people who've put the practice in to try and the people who haven't, which weirdly puts me down to never going to Warhammer World events because of all the because like you turn up and there's some hobbyist who's like, hello, I've played 8 games ever. How does scoring work? And you're like, I'm not doing this with you. I'm not doing this with you. Like, do you know what I mean?
Spending 6 months yourself learning it all and figuring out which ones. Because to me, there's almost a sub list. Like, as well as your list, there's the kind of the game of picking secondaries based on what your opponent's bringing. You look at it and go, right, how do I respond in kind? Like, if they're a specific style of list, you need to make sure your secondaries are, one, achievable, and also help kind of, if you're going to be killing some of their stuff and restricting what they're doing, it needs to be planned in your secondaries as well, right?
Yeah. Like, I like
that subtlety is kind of vital, and it changes how a list might play as a result.
Yeah, so we keep going along like another good point is that it's a barrier to entry. I agree, but it's a really fucking great game. Like, do you know what a barrier entry is? Do you know what a barrier entry is? 14-year-olds on Call of Duty. Fuck those guys. Yeah? Right? I can't pick that game up and just be like, I want to play. They're like, I haven't got anything to do, Rob. I've hit puberty. I've been in my room for 18 hours a day for like 8 years. Yeah? You're fucked. Yeah? I can't just casually play Call of Duty. I can't. Like, you can't do it. You can't casually play Modern Warfare. Some dickhead is, like, shooting you from, like, a mile away. You can't do it. It's not possible. You can't do it, right? There's no casual games anymore unless you're playing, like, a one-player game with a story. You know, you've got, like, your fucking duvet over your head and you're just, like, really involved. You got yourself a little drink and you're just like, I'm just going to zone out for a few hours. Maybe it's an old man thing. I don't know. Yeah?
Yeah, it is, Rob.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen you play League of Legends.
How dare you? How dare you, you prick? Yeah, but
Oh, jeez.
and Neil's right. Also, big shout out to Neil Kerr in the chat. My point is though, is that yes, Warhammer 40,000 probably has a bigger barrier to entry than it did in 8th edition, but maybe lower than it did in 7th edition, where the zenith of that was you had to literally be like the very top of this weird meta game of like infinitely impossible things and understand how they played against each other, John. Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas this edition far more difficult to get into than 8th edition, and actually, so I've been playing that. No, yeah, maybe it's not a bad thing, but it's and maybe there's some best practices you could do. Just play the primaries for like 10 games. You know, just do that. Just do that. Then introduce the secondaries and just do the same 3 secondaries for 10 games, whatever that might be. And I think you could probably play 40k now without secondaries and have a really nice time. Just do the primaries. Do you know what I mean?
And if you want to learn just the mechanics of the game, my first game I did was an 1,000-point game on that smaller map. And just having less stuff to do and being in the smaller space, it felt like it was scaled proportionately. So it was a little bit less daunting having less things to deal with, but we could focus on some of the core mechanics still. So maybe that's another thing people can try doing as well.
Yeah, yeah, potentially. But my point, the point I'm trying to get at is that it was really good. It was a game. More than I've ever felt playing 40k. I was like, there's a game here. Like, especially, I was like, I've just got it. I had one orc knob left last night. Lol. And he just had to kill one. He just had to kill one Skitari guy to push him off the objective. That's all I had to do. Like, and the game went from the cosmos of everything that was happening. Yeah, the Dakabots, yeah, the Onagers, the Met Guns. There was all this going off, but this was the titanic battle to cost 5 victory points left and right. And there's going to be loads of things like that. And maybe the output in 40k is really, really good. And so maybe it won't be quite like that all the time. And points are always going to be a problem that Games Workshop have and imbalance within the armies. But the structure of the game, like scoring and doing things, I was having a great time. And I can't... when I'm critical on this show or when I'm constructive and I think this isn't good, guys, or I don't agree that this is good, I labour the point. So I'm going to have to labour the point today with just how much fucking fun I was having and how good I think that is. Like, it's going to be, like, it probably is a bit breakable when I just stick, like, fucking 5 Death Guard Terminators on the objective, like, kill those, dickhead. Like, off you go, and you're like, I can't do it! I can't do it, Captain! But I was like, it was great. It was great.
It's a lot of counterplay, right? You feel like things actually matter, like doing specific things matter, and that means the game, rather than just shooting each other off the table.
Yes, and let me talk to you about it from the prospect that I want to talk about the most. From a fucking live coverage perspective, it's gonna rock. Because each turn, let me tell you how much ITC sucked from a live coverage perspective. It's like, hello, we're into turn 3, we've scored more and held more again, and the slow trudge of time is coming before we inexorably die, and the heat death of the universe is upon us. And you're like, dear God, I am bored beyond all fucking measure, right? But, right, right. But now 40k is like, we're in turn 2. That one Admech guy has to live. Otherwise, it's 5 victory points down, and he might not win the tournament. Like, it's exciting. There's a thing happening maybe every turn, right?
Yeah. And even like silly things like charging. Suddenly, it's like, where do I do my Overwatch? it matters. You just don't go, I'm going to just see what happens. You have to think about every choice.
I don't know. I reckon you can still just build some like full ETC dick kicker lists. That's what I'm going to call them.
Yeah.
I really like the ETC slash WTC 40k community because everyone's like, I'm going to make a nuance kind of. I'm going to talk tactics and strategy, and then that group are like, I'm going to take all of the fucking damage. Can you win? Yeah, like, and I like that. I love the like bullish brute force nature of that element sometimes, or that, and that might not be representative of the whole WTC community. That's just representative of my contact that I know the most. Obviously, Tom, and you know,
Yes.
and Tom's like pure aggro output gamer when he wants to be, and he's just like, well, I mean, you could try and be clever, but if everything of yours is dead, fuck you, right? Which and I respect that because the game has to have the elasticity to be able to withhold that, and maybe the output in 40k is too high and it might not hold. But if it's okay, it's could be a great. I liked it.
Yeah.
Glowing.
I liked the way that terrain potentially can impact what you're going to be shooting at as well. A little bit more. It wasn't just a case of I've got a bead on you, you're dead.
Yeah. Really good, really good. So Neil Kerr says, I'm loving 9th edition because finally the movement phase and planning your moves forward multiple turns is once again the most important skill. There you go. It hasn't been since 6th. Yes, I found that as well. I also found I love that sits 5 turns so you can plan a few turns ahead. Agreed with that. Pressure the board emote coming. Do we have room for one emote? Pressure the board?
We do. I thought that was going to be a peg.
No, that was just no. We should definitely do a pressure the board emote. That should be
Yeah.
no. We need pressure the center or something. Yeah, or control the center. Not sure. That always control the center. Yeah. Anyway, it was a really great time, and we're going to be talking more on the 40k show tonight. But I wonder if your experiences are the same, John, or if you've.
Well, it does seem like a lot of the different elements were a lot more enjoyable for me. Like even silly things like putting something in terrain, whether the type of terrain meant that it was -1 to hit or added to its save, actually had a consequence, and it felt like how the shooting would work. Right, if something's harder to hit because they're in a wood, it makes sense because it's hitting the trees instead. It all felt kind of practical things that made a rule that made kind of sense for what they were trying to achieve.
Yeah,
Currently.
yeah, we were a bit like we just did some like Nova L style obscurians in the middle, and then just threw some other terrain around. I think so let's talk about problems though. Still need loads of fucking books and bits of information everywhere, right? I was like,
I had 5 for just one chapter of Space Marines. I was like, brilliant. Including the
so
rulebook.
apparently there's another couple of FAQs out, by the way, including Forge Worlds and lists of Forge World blast weapons. Oh, Colonel Cabbage, please link. That's exciting. Yeah, so we didn't really play with like the terrain in detail, just trying to get the mechanics of scoring down, which I thought was quite important. And I think again, not user friendly. A lot of information you have to preload. You have to understand the board, what's light cover, what's obscuring, what all of these terrain features actually mean, and how can you interact with them, and what
and with your own different types of terrain as well. Because how many people actually just have a box of ruins?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. Is
but
that
my
events are all now going to be, we're all put on ruins. It's like, well, there's all the subtlety gone out of the terrain if we're not careful.
Well, I'm a little bit worried about. Not worried. I want them to just give me like a predetermined map of the terrain. I feel like the game. How can I put this in the right context? I feel like the game is unfair with the wrong terrain on the board, but I don't understand exactly how to set up the terrain in the fairest way.
There needs to be some sort of structure to it, doesn't there? Because at the moment, it basically says you put down the objectives, you work out, then you do the terrain, I think, after that. So even then, you should know what your deployment maps are going to be. So when you put the terrain down, you should be making it balanced so that it doesn't matter which side you're on, potentially.
Fuck
you, just read Xtab.
Yeah.
I'm literally just trying to read at the same time talk. I'm like, this is hard.
Yeah, fuck you, Xtab. Oh, hold on. So Callum says, great point, John. I spent an evening this week redistributing types of terrain for my club, so all boards have a bit of everything.
Yeah, and I think because I think the book itself says for every 12-inch square, you need a item of terrain. So theoretically, we should be having sort of 18 pieces of terrain, which seems a lot of terrain if you're doing a big full-size incursion board. And
Yeah.
that needs to be a mixture of stuff, right? It can't all just be here's 16 different bastions. No one's
Well,
going to play on that.
but I've also heard in the GT pack that that's coming out as well. So the reason maybe it's maybe more in my mind than it ever has been. Obviously, I've been talking to the talented Ishik from the WTC, the terrain master himself, but also. I have been designing I haven't been designing the terrain. That's been the guys, but for the Super Series, we're having custom boards made for
Yeah.
the Super Series we played on. So that's a bit of a secret that no one else knows apart from you guys. So shh. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I know.
You're spoiling all the secrets I do know and keep.
So, but one of the things that I've had to decide is like what size small, medium, and large terrain is like on a
Yes.
board, and then also if you know anything about the WTC, they tend to have heavy, medium, and light terrain boards, which makes it for a really interesting and tactical pairing phase, which I think is amazing. Excellent work by those guys. I'm really applauding those guys today, but they do great stuff. So what can I say?
Why don't you marry them, Rob?
I know. I was gonna fucking marry them. But yeah. I think actually they're all married. I'm not sure.
Well, they're all keepers.
Thanks very much, Gonna Coverage, for the links. Right. So my point is though, so I've been designing those kind of like maps, if you will, maps. Problem with Age of Sigmar is that there is actually quite a lot of objectives and a lot of missions where the maps have to be a bit more dynamic.
You need to tweak them based on where the position. To some extent, the 40k, those current 6 that are in the main rulebook, have got quite fixed places for objectives, so you do have a bit of freedom there.
Yeah, well, but my point is we've heard, and I'm pretty certain that within the tournament booklet, whatever the fuck that is, that booklet is going to be actual maps for the terrain placement, which I think is really good. Like, I actually think that. Yeah, I think it's really needed. It's really needed. I think that is an excellent change. I think before it was just like buy some terrain for your board at home, and I'm like, what terrain? Like, how do I want it to look? But then everyone would tell you that terrain is really impactful. But Games Workshop have stepped it up now, and they've gone, okay. I guess it's all of the TOs and other people that have actually been involved with them, you know, because I imagine when they play 40k in playtesting, they just play on like a sheet of glass with no terrain. Yeah. Unpainted models while they're all drinking like not even coffee, like probably like
Decaf.
No, not even decaf. No, like I reckon just some sort like water. No, milk and sugar. That's what they drink. Warm milk and sugar. Yeah.
Cocoa. What it has meant, though, since my game I played on Sunday, I've started looking at terrain as stuff that's going to be based, because that was my biggest thing I found. I've got a load of the Xenos plants, and without a definitive footprint for things like that, it became a little bit kind of like, how do we decide whether you're on it, in it, next to it? What's defining that? So I think you might see a bit of that as well.
Yeah, and I am like 11 out of 10 for that. I'm all in. Like, give me more of that watered down milk.
Jesus Christ.
Clear defined base for terrain is a great idea. Yeah. Like, I'm into it. I'm into that in a big way. And I think that was kind of my problem last night in setting up the board. And I know Ixtab's like, yeah, how do you want them to come around? Like, write my army list for me, wipe my arse, roll my dice. I want that. But also, it's a premium product. Like, it's a premium fucking product. It's expensive. Do the job for me. Yeah? Like, do that job. I want that work done. Get it done. And I just want to, like, turn up and be like, okay, I'll place these things here. Sweet. Play my game. All right. And if you don't want to do the board like that, you don't have to do the board like that, right?
I can see there being a bit of potential in things like Aegis defense lines and all that stuff as well. If they make it impactful enough, people might start taking them again, right?
Yeah. Dataless, big love to you. Hope you're staying healthy and safe. Love you all. Also, that goes for all of you listening and all of you in the chat right now. Hope you're all healthy and safe. And if you're not always, feel free to reach out to one of us on those Wargamer. Drop us a
We're
message.
always here.
Always here. Mainly because
And
we've
if
got nowhere
Rob
else to
doesn't
go.
reply, send me the message instead.
He's right. 10 out of 10. And also, I would also like to, at this point, apologise and make it clear that the Honest Wargamer guys got something wrong. We're not beyond admitting that, and that is that the faction terrain was not free. We expected it to be free, John. We thought the faction terrain would be free, but it wasn't.
I was on the fence, but yeah, it was a hard one to make
What, the
call
free
off, right?
fence?
Yeah, I'm always on the fence. You know me. I'm a Dark Angels player.
Oh,
Oh, am I loyal? Am I not? Ooh,
Alright.
isn't this
Do
fun?
you get bored with that joke after a while?
Yes. That's why I said it with such disdain.
Okay, no, yeah, sorry. Nikos wasn't wrong because he said that it wouldn't be free. So
No,
Nick wasn't wrong.
It felt too imbalanced to me.
I
but
was wrong. Why?
if something has a physical. So a good example is the new bunker. To me, it's got guns on it. It's not a buff piece. It's an output piece. That to me makes sense that it would have points. If it was something like the Mech Workshop, maybe. But if it's a physical thing that does stuff, like even like Bastions, they've got potentially four heavy bolters on them.
Mhm.
They have a purpose, and they've got wounds, whilst a Big Mech's Workshop doesn't have wounds.
Have you seen the rules on the Space Marines thing? It's crazy,
It's
right?
bonkers.
It's bonkers.
I don't want to use it, but if it's that good, I've got to use it.
Yeah, it's like it's wild.
It's like, come on, put three of them in the middle of the table. We need to Tau army, right?
Yeah, Ixtab's right. Sales lost that argument. Sales is just in there like, make it all free, and the rules guys are like, not really sure we can justify it. Like, come on, do you know how many of these will sell? And they're like, oh, we're not sure we can do it. Sales finally
They haven't
not.
made boatloads of them, Rob. They can't.
Ron, Ron is my new alter ego.
Ron.
Yeah.
Is that your safe word?
John has never had stuff killed by that Dome OBR tower. Then that's true. Some of the faction terrain does do some stuff in Age of Sigmar, John. Like,
in the
but
40k aspect as well, I was more referencing.
yeah. I mean, it's very different to something that's got heavy bolts that can strike every unit in 36 inches. It's just crazy.
Who thought that was a good idea? I still, even if we see the points, I will still think that's too cheap. I have a feeling that those things are going to be ruining my fun for quite some time now.
I agree. I'd also like to, Born Again Manchild makes a point, and I think I would like to stick with that point. And I think maybe this needs to be canon or headcanon for the Honest Wargamer crowd. In that, when we look at a new rule from Games Workshop, we need to decide that there's the sales team and there's the rules team. And much like Anchorman, there's some sort of LARP-style battle that they have to decide whether or who gets to decide where they pull the trigger. So sales or... And to be honest, it oftentimes looks like the sales team win quite a lot, I'd say. But sometimes the rules guys win, you know. Yeah. It's Total Games Workshop saying 9th is going to be more mobile, more elite, and then the most top tier list is going to be a bunch of marine bunkers. To be fair though,
3 models.
you have to be really mobile. Just based on my games yesterday, turn 1, you have to move and go on objectives. Like, you have to.
If you don't, you suffer for it. You can't just sit on one objective with loads of stuff. You have to move everything out. So that's changed how I'm building my list. So my intercessors are getting switched out for infiltrators from the get-go. Because they can be deployed where I want them to be, rather than an intercessor. They've got the potential of the comms array, so if you've got a Phobos captain and lieutenant, they can get the buff from them no matter where they are. It's all these sorts of things suddenly make a bit more sense.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway,
a pile of intercessors shooting stuff.
So I'm pretty hype. I'm pretty hype about it, is all I've got to tell you guys. And I don't think there's much... I mean, so problems is data tracking is going to be tough, and we're hoping that that's either in the app, or I've got a lot of faith in the DUP BCP guys in giving us some sort of scorecard thing coming up. So I would hope that that's something that we have available very soon. Also, have we heard if the 40k app is going to be available on Android and iOS or just on iOS? Because I have got a feeling in my balls.
Isn't that where the P is stored? I miss Jonathan.
They've been referred to the glorified copywriters by one former head of the design team. They've been referred to as glorified copywriters. Who has? Not sure I'd fancy the rules team over anyone. Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Probably just Apple. Oh my god, I really hope it's just Apple. Have they said if it's going to be cross-platform?
I can't remember. There was a thing about it at one point where I think they were quite optimistic, but that could have changed because that could be another delay, right? If they have to do it for 2 different operating systems.
All right, Halifax 95. It is both. Okay, that's rad. I'm into that. If they sort it out. But my point was, is that so we need a score tracker for playing games.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need a map for the terrain to play games. I think that's definitely a thing. We need some way to build our lists. Coming in for Battlescribe Best App 2021. So, like, you need... Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to identify what currently I didn't have. So, way to score games, and hopefully on some sort of mobile device. Terrain. Mat as well. Like, I taped off my mat. I'm eventually going to have to go buy a new mat. Because it's just kind of like... It just looks a bit shit, doesn't it?
Or like, just buy 2 £30 cardboard mats. That'll build you 1 mat. That only costs you £60.
Who's doing that?
Cardboard. Games Workshop.
Hold on. There's a Nikos wants me to buy the Buckingham Easy Wipe bottom wiper. Oh,
it's a portable bidet. Brilliant.
A portable bidet.
Man, I'm
wipe
in.
my ass.
That looks like some sort of new Necron weapon.
How about using spare scenery to mark off the map? Yeah, but then you have to like lean over your own scenery, which like
I've tried it with dice. I've tried it with the movements, the measuring sticks. Whatever you put down, because the mat is so good, it slides.
Yeah,
and it's a nightmare. So
you're gonna have to buy mats, I think. Anyway, but that's more of like a long-term sort of like thing, I guess. Just for the aesthetics. And then I think the game's in a good state then to be playing. So like there are some key parts that we're missing. Obviously, army building is a key part. Also, consolidation of rules is a bit of a nightmare. Did you find that? You're like, because you've got the psychic. So each book has basically got 2 books. If it's only got 2 books, and some have got more. It's a lot. I feel like you have to turn up knowing what your list does. Like you can't really reference stuff particularly quickly, especially if all your tablets and devices are currently open with the fucking rules and scoring on. Does that make sense?
That was the thing I found that was most overwhelming. You need an app open for your list all the time. Then if you've got the rules need to be on something else, and it ends up you've got 3 or 4 different tablets if you've got that facility, and it's just a bit bonkers, right?
Yeah, agreed. Tywin, snap chalk lines for construction work in semi-permanent. Snap chalk lines for construction work is semi-permanent. Oh, okay. You could do that. And apparently also, RE Mats, the SN Battle Rep guys, great guys, have got vinyl overlay to mark off the new border. Looks awesome. Okay, you could do that as well. But you're still spending money then. So if I'm spending money, why don't I just buy a mat?
I've got 3 mats. I might just cut them.
Could do that.
Because I play other war games, so to me I'm like, there'll be times where I don't want it to be taped off, so I might end up just having to buy a 40k mat now, which is just a pain in the backside.
Yeah, I mean they're not tons, are they? You can get them from, you can obviously get them from Frontline, obviously
50, 60 quid
in cahoots. Listen, Pablo, I'm calling you right out. You're in cahoots. I'm saying it. I love you as a guy. You're a great human being, but cahoots is what you are. You're hoodwinking us. And then what's the European version?
GameMat.eu.
Yeah, GameMat.eu. Those guys. Yeah. So anyway, but that's a side note. And then terrain. So I think that's everything. And then the game's in a good place to play, which is pretty cool. Like
until they release some codexes that break it all.
Surrender. I don't know. Like, I think my biggest problem is I need like I think I also need a flow chart that I need to make, and I'm like, where are we at in scoring? I'm like, Okay, I've planted a flag, which is an action, and it now is active. Okay,
So
have you
that's
done?
you do that in your movement phase, so then you then score for that in your next command phase.
Yes, you do, but you do it in
And
the
that's the thing, is
end.
getting your head.
You do it at the end of your movement phase. So you're like, you get somewhere, and at the end of your movement phase, you like plant a flag. But we were playing. I was also playing the secondary, which
Yes.
for that mission for frontline assault, which is also objective based. So I basically just went all in on the primaries. I was just like, I'm going to score the primaries, and then I'm going to plant a flag. But planting the flag is harder than you might think because your unit has to
Yeah.
do nothing.
Yes. So that then makes, if you're planning to do things like that in your missions, that informs how you're going to build your list as well. So the Drakari player, my friend Tom, that I played against, he had a, it's not Talos. What's the other one? Oh God, the other thing like a Talos. Basically, it just sat there with its invuln save, going, "Ha, deal with me," whilst it was doing the action. Couldn't deal with it because it had a 4
Really?
invuln. Kronos, that's the one. So him having a 70-point unit that just sat there going, "You can't deal with me." I was just like, brilliant.
That's great. That's great, and
So
that's what
putting
it's going
those
to make.
things in a list, right, makes
Yeah,
such a difference.
It does. It does. It's going to change up how we play loads, which I'm very excited about. Also, I love the idea that someone's just sat there with just like, keep siphoning, baby. Keep siphoning. There's just like a robot just like digging. Like, come
That's what we
on!
imagine. It's literally this
Come on!
straw like sucking out the life.
Come
Or
on!
something.
Yeah, well, last night I was like, I want to paint up some flags, some banners
Yes.
for my guys.
So
It's like, boom.
I've got some 40 mil bases that I'm making into objective markers, and then I'm
What
going to
about-
do flags for each of my armies to stick in the objectives when I've put the flag up,
What about
and then you can keep track of.
What about our Honest Wargamer 40mm Perspex markers coming soon? Soon.
We're doing perspex markers as well.
Are we? Wait.
I thought
What
we're
do?
doing-
What
I thought
material?
we're doing-
What material
doing
do we
the
make it
other
out of now?
Those aren't 40 mil that we were looking at doing. They're the footprint markers, not the actual
Oh.
marker itself.
God, I'm so confused nowadays.
So,
well, it's okay. You
it's
guys make them. You guys make
it's
them, and I'll just claim I made them. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. James, John, Tom, well done.
Tom Wallace has done a great design. We need to just hit the button on that.
Spandex.
Spandex.
Yeah, I want to make it out of spandex. That's a way better decision. Yeah, with a peg in the middle is the future.
Oh,
anyway,
yes.
Before we head out, John, because it's been a delight talking to you. You got any
always.
final thoughts? And Twitch chat, have you got any final questions?
For me, not really. I'm curious to see if Space Marines get any more new toys.
Oh, even more than we've already
Yeah.
seen. They've got
Like,
the
I have
ATV needs to come out. Like, there's so much.
More bike characters. I'm half expecting to see something else on a bike.
Oh, what, like where they released one special character for each one of the Space Marine books?
No, like doing a Space Marine captain on a bike type of thing.
Yeah, but do you know how they did all the foot characters for the Marines over like the
Yeah.
Christmas kind of period? Like Iron
Yeah.
Hands 1, Salamanders. I would
Yeah.
really listen, there's certain points where Games Workshop are quite mercantile and I'm like, come on lads, you're taking the piss. But I would be like saluting outside Games Workshop HQ. Yeah, I'd be like, what a bold move, Cotton. If they released another wave of Space Marine books, yeah, they're like, this is the other Salamanders book with Salamanders Captain on bike. Yeah, I'd just be out the front like, you bold bastards. Do you know what I mean? John, would you be in? I wouldn't be in, by the way. I would hate it, but I'd respect
I'd
it.
be in, but I'm painting a lot of Ravenwing at the moment, and I have no soul apparently. 'Cause
But
I'm
what if they
chasing
had-
the meta?
What if they had one special character captain on a bike, but you had to buy a new book with it?
I'd probably be alright with it because at that point I'll be like, I've got a new toy, and at the end of the day, I don't have to buy any of the new stuff, but I want to because it looks cool normally. So I'm
That's
alright
true.
with that.
Yeah.
I don't have to buy anything.
What about characters in a buggy? Food, water.
Maybe. That feels a bit too orky. I'd rather do my orcs as buggies and my Space Marines as bikes.
Okay. Whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess so. Right, a big shout out to Henry Steele in the chat, who's building
Yes.
some Sisters of Battle. You guys should check out the cult paint. Scott B, land speeder plus more, presumably. Yeah, Primaris everything. Agreed.
Yeah.
Twitch chat. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Ixtab, thanks for burning me today. As always, a pleasure. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed today. You guys are delicious. Join me, Nick, and Tom tonight for what is only going to be described as the most excited and upbeat conversation about 9th edition. Well, no, about 40k you may have ever heard on this channel.
Hang on, wait a sec. Also, shout out to Gozzy.
Always shout out to Gozzy. Good hanging out with you, Furzy. Borneo, Manchild, Grinaldi, Colonel Cabbage, Gabwaki. You guys are great. If you guys want to hear some Age of Sigmar talk, I was last night on Warhammer Weekly. Yeah, so you guys can go and check that out if you're interested. With Vince, the wonderful, wonderful Tom, and also personal hero of mine, Halo Twitch.
Nice.
I spent most of the show just laughing at what he was saying. It's like a child. Anyway, and also tonight I am obviously after the 40k show I'm on Rantcast with Mr. Mephiston.
Nice.
Yeah. Where he is, I imagine, going to shout at me for 3 hours, and I'm going to sit down. So
he'll talk a lot, and you won't need to talk too much. That's what I found when I was on it.
Perfect. That's good. I can just paint.
Have a nap. You're going to go have a nap now before the next show, Rob. Please tell me you're going to do
that. No. I've got too much super serious stuff to do, which is exciting. Join me again tomorrow for that as well. Right, we're going.
Boom.
Loads of love. Everyone, be great. Be healthy. Be loved. Be precious. Patreon guys, you are heart and soul. You are the power in my veins. Bye. Look after yourself. Stay hydrated. Love you. Goodbye.